Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Nothing But Bangers, aka MBB, aka Bangers, aka I've got a huge video that's going to be talking about some of the best television that's on right now. I know that sounds random. It's going to be talking about some collectibles that I've been stacking, including a nice little reveal video at the end. And I can't make a video without talking about Pokemon Pocket and Pokemon Champions and how I kind of feel about that right now. So let's jump right in. Right now, we've got an incredible trio of superhero shows that are airing across multiple networks. You've got Invincible and The Boys airing on Amazon Prime, and then you've got Daredevil on Disney Plus, and there's just a lot of overlap between superhero shows and a lot of my community that I've kind of built over the years, and a lot of us kind of watch these shows. And I got to tell you, if you haven't watched any of these shows, they're insane. Invincible may be the best out of the three, if I'm honest. But again, it is a cartoon, so it's kind of got that going against it. But again, like, you've got a lot of good content being created right now. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up is, like, I want to talk about this stuff more. I want to talk a little bit about the season recap of Invincible when that kind of wraps up. Obviously, The Boys is coming to an end. If you didn't know that, it's not so obvious, but it's coming to an end. This is the last season. And then when you got Daredevil, Marvel is just always going to be growing and kind of changing. So, Marvel is kind of what it is. But, man, Invincible is just one of those unique shows that, it hits like a weird group of people because it hits on so many different, it's got animated things. It's got, manga and anime type influence. It's got the real superhero influence from stuff like Marvel and DC. It's just really insane how all over the place it is, and just the different influences it has. But anyways, yeah, I've really been enjoying these shows, and I couldn't make a video without talking about it, right? Like, this is a little bit of a slice of life. If you don't like it, hey, I'm sorry, but definitely check them out if you haven't checked them out. And if you see a random video talking about Invincible, don't be surprised. Also, there are a lot of video games. Like, I think there's like a new Invincible game that's out. So yeah, definitely pay attention to how media has an impact on the games that you play and maybe even the collectibles that you like to collect. Now, kind of moving forward to Pokemon Pocket. Now, I know a lot of you know me for Pokemon Pocket content, and it's, obviously a game that I still play, even though I'll be honest with you, I play a lot more Marvel Snap. I just enjoy Marvel Snap a lot more. And one of the reasons why I've kind of like stepped away from playing a ton of Pokemon Pocket, even though you have great resources like Pokemon Zone, who also recently started creating a whole separate side of their website for Pokemon Champions, which we'll talk about here in a second as well. But, Pokemon Pocket is just like, I know whether I'm going to win almost within like the first like 2 turns of the entire game. Like, I go and then my opponent goes, and pretty much it feels like the game is mostly decided. You know what I mean? And like, I guess you could say that's the case in a lot of card games, but that doesn't mean that it's a good game, right? Like, if you turn that point around and say, well, MBB, a lot of games are like that. Well, then that doesn't mean they're good games. Okay, like, we can both concede that point, but it doesn't mean it's a good game. And so from that point of view, I kind of look at Pokemon Pocket as being like the very narrow version of the Pokemon trading card game. And it's really cool. I really enjoy the Pokemon trading card game. And when the Pokemon trading card game is a lot of fun, that's great. And I enjoyed it. But with Pokemon Pocket, I just kind of don't necessarily enjoy the same play pattern over and over and over again. And with Marvel Snap, I know it's like a 12 card deck, so technically it's smaller. But I would almost say like 12 unique cards is actually more cards than 20 that are in Pokemon Pocket, when you consider that, like, 12 of your spots are staples. You know what I mean? I don't know, anywhere from 8 to 12 depending on what kind of shell you're playing. So, it's just, I just like Marvel Snap more. Like, just to be real honest. And that's okay. Everybody has the games that they like. I still play Pokemon Pocket, and whenever there's new sets, I jump in and I really enjoy it for like that first like 24 hours, 48 hours, and then I kind of just like, but that's just me. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I'm still gonna like keep checking it out. I still look at the resources, and like, the thing about the game is, like, it's gotten to the point where so many decks can win Like, there is a tier list, no doubt, and there are like some top tier decks that just can steamroll a lot more decks than others. But like for the most part, in Pokemon now, in Pokemon Pocket now, you know, you can draw a really, really strong hand and just about beat any matchup. You know what I mean? Like, that's the cool thing about it. I just wonder what's the next card that they make that just breaks the game. You know what I mean? Like, Giratina broke the game for the longest time when it was paired with Darkrai EX, right? So what I'm wondering is, what's the next like EX or Mega or GX that they're gonna make that just like remains dominant and is just like so good the game just has to warp around it. And I know that like sounds like, well, why would you want that instead of a diverse metaverse, you know, a diverse meta game like this? I don't know. I don't know what I prefer. I really don't. But needless to say, there's some people that don't enjoy the variety of the Pokemon Pocket meta. But I mean, from the outside looking in, you know, yeah, it seems kind of nice that you can just play your favorite deck and, you know, you can draw well enough to win just about any game. However, you know, you do have that other flip side of it. Like, hey, man, a lot of the games are decided in, you know, the first couple of turns, and you just may get tired of that. So, yeah, I don't know. But it is cool to see, you know, the variety. And like I said, I still keep up with it. But, you know, when it comes to, like, Pokemon Champions, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm super intrigued by this game. Pokemon Champions to me is really unique because there was a group of you guys and a group of the Pokemon Pocket community that wanted to jump in to Pokemon Champions, and then you also had people that had VGC experience that were like, yeah, come on, we played Pocket with you, but we actually knew the VGC before Pocket, so we're gonna be able to help you guys learn some of the games, some of the mechanics. And like, it seemed like a really cool thing for the people that were in the Pokemon Pocket community that kind of felt like there's nothing really going on. You know, we have it's the same repetitive events over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even open the packs that I win from like the special rewards on Pokemon. I don't even open them. Like, it's so annoying. You know what I mean? Like, you just had to open one. Anyways. So Pokemon Champions to me seems like a really cool opportunity to kind of reunite with everybody again in Pokemon and kind of like jump in a whole new angle. The downside is I don't have a Switch, and like, I can't say that that's really high on my list of things to buy right now. Personally, I just don't really see the point in buying the Switch for like one game, because it would be one game for me. I'm not gonna like, I don't think I care about that much. I just don't think I care that much, you know. But when it's mobile, heck yeah, man, I'll definitely check it out. I definitely want to make some videos and, you know, talk about with you guys. So anyways, let me know, how are you feeling about Pokemon Pocket? How are you feeling about Pokemon Champions? Like, are you playing them? And if not, like, are you waiting until the Switch comes out? But anyways, yeah, I'm definitely curious about it because, like I said, I think that it's really cool that Pokemon Zone started making content and making a whole like dedicated website or portion of their website for Pokemon Champions. I think it's, you know, a good way to kind of stay with the community. So we'll see how that goes. So if you also kind of follow along with the channel, you may be familiar with Grills. And for the longest time I've been on Grills, I think it's been probably over a year by now. I don't know, since Ursi had that tournament a long time ago. But anyways, basically, I've still been on Grills pretty off and on. And I've gotten all of my slabs from there. So, you know, it's been really nice, man. You know, recently they made a big change where they kind of got rid of free-to-play. And I completely understand people kind of like going away from Grills because of that. I decided to put $25 in just because, honestly, like, you know, I've been free to play the entire time, so why not give them $25? You know, I've gotten like 4 or 5 slabs from them, so, you know, I have no problem doing it. But again, you know, it's not me endorsing anything like that, you know, putting money into the app or anything like that. But, you know, it's just been a cool platform. But I do feel like a lot of people are probably going to be phasing out of this app or out of this website, and, you know, we'll see what happens. But it's been a good run. Grell's been great. I'm still going to stick around with that $25, you know, entry that I have for the next, you know, 25 or so days, because 5 days have already passed. But yeah, you know, that's just a change that some of these gacha kind of websites are going to be making. And, you know, you may be wondering, like, why are you talking about these gacha websites? Well, it's the way that a lot of people are collecting cards, right? Like you collect them digitally, and then you can kind of select some of the ones that you pull to ship to you. And this is Poolbox. This is another platform that I'm on. Again, I've had a couple of cards shipped from all of these platforms already. I already own them. I keep up with my collection, but realistically, these are somewhat like gambling sites, but it's a way for you to kind of build up a collection. If you got, some free time to play every day and maybe do the free daily, you can build stuff up over time. Over weeks and months, you can really build a small little collection. I don't own any One Piece cards, but if I ever wanted to ship these One Piece cards, I could pay, I think it's $7 of currency on this platform to go ahead and get these shipped. And then they would arrive, at my house. Same thing for some of the other platforms. And one of the reasons why I'm talking about this is because recently there was a big announcement by GameStop. And GameStop is somewhat of a fusion of like all of these websites, Grails, Poolbox, and Boxed. And Boxed has been blowing up. Boxed has had multiple influencers. They don't hire people, but I guess they kind of like pay people in gyms to kind of talk about their website and their product. And, obviously I've never been paid by any of these. Like I'm not compensated by any of these. These are the things that I just like enjoyed, sharing with you all and I kind of collecting myself. But, it's been fun being on Boxed. I recently terminated my membership, but I got a lot of cards sent from them. So, that's been...
Hey, real quick, as a sponsor of this video, because it's my own video, can you hit that subscribe button and remember to like this video? That would help a lot. All right, thanks. Back to the video. GameStop's platform Power Packs. It's very similar to Grails, Poolbox, and Box, but it is a little bit different in how it operates. Basically, you can put cash on the platform and use that cash to buy packs. When you buy packs, you can go ahead and choose to go ahead and sell or keep them. There's a opportunity that you can go ahead and pull something and actually list it on eBay through the Power Packs platform. And basically what they do is they actually list it on the PSA eBay and sell it for you. The only fees that you pay are like the final value fee, which if you've ever sold anything on eBay or if you've ever sold anything on Trading Card Player or TCG Player, you probably know what, final value fees are. But yeah, it's really interesting. I don't think it's very good right now. I think that the best pack right now is probably like there's like a $50 Pokemon pack, and it's really hard to evaluate these packs if you've never done it before. Some of the criticisms that I would have about the GameStop platform are that you don't really get a lot of bang for your buck. On the other platforms, you get a bonus for putting in $25. You get like a bonus in amount of currency. You get like extra perks. You get, referral bonuses. But for GameStop, it's just like they're taking your money, you're gambling, and that's it. And so I think it has a lot of work to do. However, it is the only platform that basically gives you that super easy option to, if you can find a way to arbitrage this website, you can constantly sell things on eBay. So pretty nice, and they handle all the shipping for you. That's a look into the games that I'm playing, some of the different TV shows that I'm enjoying, as well as the different platforms that I'm collecting my trading cards on. I hope that you guys enjoy the kind of slice of life content, as well as a little bit of insight into a lot of different things. And to end this video, I've actually got a reveal of all the cards that I got shipped. So check out this little unboxing, and until next time, I'll catch you later. Peace.
All right, so for this part of the video is going to be a little bit different. This is a terrible angle, but this is the best I could do. So I have a package of cards from Grails and Boxed that I have been able to acquire over the past few months. So let's check them out. This is what we got in the mail. All right, so here we go. Let's start with the first batch. So they gave you like a little sticker. And we got some Zard action right there. Cool. Oh yeah, here we go. We start getting into the SpongeBob SquarePants cards. These are some of the cards that I really wanted to pull. I was only able to get a couple, but it's a foil secret layer. And then we got the Rizzler, the Quantum Rizzler. Got a few of these. Spent a lot of gems pulling these. Probably the main reason why I went negative on Boxed, outside of me misclicking. But yeah, man, a lot of Quantum Riddlers here. The Rizzler. The Rizzler. Look at that. So many Quantum Rizzler. I gotta check their condition, honestly. Like, I don't know what their conditions are gonna be like. Then we got a little Squidward action right here. Nice, 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 nice. Let's see what else we got. Another Squidward. Non-foil. And then these are the slabs I've gotten from Grills. Nice, nice, nice. 9. And then I believe this is the one that I won from a raffle. I'm not sure. One of these I won from a raffle. No, this is the one that I opened. And this is the one that I won from a raffle. So, a couple of slabs there. Yeah, not bad.